and a senior lawyer at that. Honorable Katuntu, yesterday the Supreme Court spoke. In some ways, you had predicted what they would speak, and you seemed to suggest that there was no other way they could not speak differently at all, and it seemed to happen. The way they spoke made you look clever, because you had said this last year, the other year, that there's only one way they can speak, and they spoke like that.
They didn't make me look clever. I'm only clever. And I have no apologies to make. Anyway, jokes aside, first of all, it's not the Supreme Court that decided. Let's get this clearly. It is the Constitutional Appellate Court.
Oh.
Okay? Yeah, because there are two courts up there.
Pardon?
Also right.
He is right and I'm also right.
So the decision is a constitutional court, but the highest constitutional court. It never sat as the Supreme Court, but it sat as the Court of Appeal. Because everything was about lawyers anyway. It wasn't about the other things. So one, it has taken long, but it was worth waiting for. It was worth waiting for. They have set what we call jurisprudence. They have set they have redefined the role of the court martial, and there is no appeal from there. So we are faced with some decision in finality. What did the court decide? The court decided, one, that the court martial does not have powers to try civilians, because that was what Honorable Kabaziguruka was contesting, but he got more than what he asked for. And you know, I've always said it on this show that sometimes we move into things and we have unintended consequences. So maybe if the Attorney General had left the decision at the Constitutional Court, it would have been okay. But he tried to go up there, and the whole thing was now opened up. And you know, the intellectual imperative, you need to congratulate all these judges. Every judge wrote his own judgment, gave his own reasons, and touched on each and every aspect of that court. They faulted us as Parliament because we are the ones who enacted the UPDF Act, and many of those provisions were found to be unconstitutional. They have also advised us to go look into it and realign the Act in accordance with the Constitution. But the most important thing is, it seems the court is saying it is not about civilians alone, but even the powers of the Court of Appeal to try soldiers for offenses, and even penal offenses where they can even be imprisoned and so on. They have, yes, they have also looked into. Thirdly, when you read what the Chief Justice, the Honorable Chief Justice written, it's about the constitution of that court. Without any legal training, and he gives a very humorous example that's like telling a lawyer to go in a theater and operate. He doesn't know, that's distinguish between the kidney and the liver. And there he is, you know, purporting to be operating somebody. It is also, I think, a reform which is suggesting to the lawmakers, if you are constituting a court, let's get get qualifications to be legal training to be part of the qualification for people who sit in those in those court martials and so on, other than say you wake up one day, say Lieutenant Colonel Katundu from Mbidde, you are now chairman court martial, and the examples are there to be given. Even when, let his soul rest in peace, General Tumwino was, the way he was conducting that case, it was a little, it was quite sad. So it's a fundamental departure legally from what they have been doing, and we have nothing to do but to be proud of the court, because the decision they took, many people were cynics. I remember one person on the streets I belong to, the social media streets I belong to, was saying very uncharitable things about somebody, and I was like, no, that shouldn't be the case. Give the people benefit of doubt. Let us wait for the decision and so on. And there was, you can't say there was even a conspiracy of the judges. Each and every judge has his own reasons, different from the other, at arriving at the same decision, and really it's worth reading. It's worth reading. The Amen should now go into the reforms which have been suggested by the court. I don't know whether there is anybody complaining about this decision.
We don't know yet. Lydia, was it Judge Mugenyi who said, talked about incompetence, and that the court is incompetent?
So anyway, I would like to congratulate it's called Kabaziruka. Kabaziguruka. Yeah. I think yesterday was his day, but also maybe for Uganda, because it's not a Kabaziruka thing alone. It's about the laws we have in our country and how we want to dispense justice. The decision is a big document. I think it's about 200 pages.
No, that's one decision of the CJ.
It's a long one, and I think it should interest everybody, including Ssemujju. Ssemujju, you have a reading culture. It would be interesting for you to read that, because it informs a lot. But this does not. I've also read the letter of the president and the intent why the court martial is there. So I think they can go back to the drawing board, not them alone, because about Uganda, anybody that is interested in research and good laws for Uganda, we can now refocus the purpose of the court martial so that it can serve its purpose, but also have courts of law to also serve their purpose. The mandate of the courts of law is to explain. It is to clarify how issues of the law are supposed to be laid out to the Ugandans. Ugandans include people in the court martial. These are Ugandans, and they have a space they contribute to the justice of the country. So they should be happy. But now go back and recast, if you want, what do we want court martial to do, and be able to put it in law and ensure that they dispense that contribution they make. I'm talking this in mind of the intention of that court, by the way the president made an opinion about it, the commander-in-chief. So they can also play their role, but also the courts of law also play their role. While we are celebrating, I really also want to remind, maybe it's not my work, but let me say it because I'm a Ugandan, let also the court do their work. The energy with which the Chief Justice summarized the matter, they should also up their sleeves to work, because there are so many, the case backlog does not speak to...
This one took 4 years.
Yeah. Why did it take 4 years? So if we align how they've said that all matters should go to court like we all believe, and then they begin sitting on cases for 4 years, we are not amused. That's why you listen, because I also listen
But I want to give you what the court explained.
They explained, and I've seen people apologizing. But this is not the only matter that has been on the court for 4 years. There are so many cases. They talk about the backlog. They should deal with issues of backlog so that we are happy that when a matter is before any court of law, it will not take a lifetime. People are there. They don't have representation. They don't have their matters coming up to court. Yes, the one of yesterday of 4 years was there was an explanation to it, and I've seen so many people, including activist lawyers, who have been telling off. I mean, there was also a biggie. There was a lot of maligning campaign before this judgment. Oscar, if you have been following, they were like put to the corner. Some people I saw people activists preempting. This is what they are going to say. They are going to say that basically should be killed. You know, there was a lot of maligning and lambasting the case. And even when they had announced that it is going to come up, they began preempting, like they had already read the judgment.
Agatha Atuhaire has been one of them, activist lawyers.
Yeah, activist people. So I've seen apologies, which is also good. They were like, oh, okay, we didn't expect this. It's like they were putting them to the corner to say you preempt the judgment. They have already blackmailed. There's a lot of blackmailing of the judiciary. So that apology has been made from the activists, but also there was an explanation yesterday. But my point is, they should also now expedite all pending, so that we have the hope that they stated yesterday to say if my case goes to any court of law, it shouldn't take a year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Namfi, the John here in Kampala says what happens to judgments that were handed down by the court martial? What about sentences that have already been carried out?
I think we'll see the details in the judgment. Because usually when court rules on something, unless they specifically state that prior judgments are affected by the ruling, then they are not affected by the ruling. It's the way the law works.
But they handled it.
Yes.
In detail. Yeah. They've made clear.
So they will not be affected.
That.
Very quickly, what was the clear direction?
It will not have retrospective
application.
On those which have already.
Yes.
You continue serving, but when you appeal,
so
if
where they
are pending review.
A review and appeal will be governed by this new law. Of course, in a military state like ours, it remains to be seen whether the powers that be will respect this decision. And I don't want to sound pessimistic, but I'm hesitant to even call this a lease of hope for our country. But maybe, just maybe it is, because I mean, look at most of these Supreme Court justices. They are aging, they're no longer young, they are legacy. But I would be more impressed if during the upcoming election, when government steals the election.
The government does not. When Museveni is the candidate, please don't hide under government.
I want my balls.
When Museveni cheats election.
I am not risking my balls. I'm not risking my balls.
Nafi,
do you have
a morning show?
Oh, hey, that one is vulgar.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No.
Muhozi said he's coming for Ssemujju's balls, and he's going to kill Ssemujju. So what I'm saying, Oscar,
give us a word.
I will be more impressed if this is followed next year. First, I appreciate this, and a resounding clap for them, a resounding clap for the activists who pushed for this. Part of me thinks they will, like Abdu pointed out. Since the beginning of this case, there is nowhere else to rule other than this, because to rule to the contrary, you go against the law, you go against the politics, you go against the common sense. But stranger things have happened with this regime, so I applaud that for once, because the contrast with the Chief Justice, this Chief Justice and the one who was hounding the Lady Justice Chisache for her dissenting ruling on during the election petition were two different people, and if they can keep this up, and during the next election petition, when once again certain elements steal the election, if they can keep this up, then I will be at that point more impressed by their action than this. But this
President
black
Museveni
swan
has been saying opposition have been stealing elections all this time. So
You know, what do young people call it? Delulu, eh? Sometimes these delusion statements, maybe we can attribute to his age, but then again, he's been delusional even when he was younger. But we move.
So get the answer.
Yes, it's those delusionary utterances we can ignore, because even the statement he made, I don't know whether it was a right statement he made after this ruling, saying that he's also speaking against
I think that's just social media.
It's social media?
Yes.
Okay. Because when I saw it, I was like, no.
He spoke previously about how good the court martial is.
Yes.
That's an article that I have shared with you.
Because it was during those utterances that he said it was good that army beat up.
At that time, to
Robert
another
Chagulanyi.
decision which came out of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Yes. So there is a new lease of life in our rule of law. Can we keep up with it? Should we be optimistic? I am not very sure.
Okay.
I am cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously. That's a new one, being optimistic.
Yes.
Honorable Mbidde.
Yes.
Lawrence in Kampala says, good morning, gang. What did you expect from those NRM cadre judges? We all expected that judgment from the Museveni hand-picked lords. But let's wait for the election petitions and then gauge their ruling. It's a bit contradictory, the message.
Okay. I saw a trending video of our current president of the Law Society, of the radical new bar, pursuant to the decision that was
radically
taken.
Celebrating.
Singing Owinyi so Afoyo Matek. So we as lawyers, I think it is our duty to thank the court. And by the way, people begin to thank courts, it has got also its negative implications. Because if we expected the court to do so, obviously we would not be thanking the court. But we would like them to continue doing the job for which they were contemplated. So the decision, when we are starting to learn law, there are things that we used to, we were extremely fascinated with certain provisions, certain antiques, certain semantics, certain sayings. Locus classicus was one of them. So this is one of the best cases we will definitely work with. We are going to, as lawyers, of course, they are going to be, it is going to be of extreme importance. One thing that actually is unfair, persons whose decision had been handed down, there was no availability, of course, the subject of appeal. I think court is sorry. A retrospective application of that decision might not help. Because I think the court gave some distinction in terms of collateral and some other distinctions. So those that are now serving sentences that are final, see you later. There is no way we can look into your matter, but the decision was taken. Going forward. So Chiza definitely will be transferred now to the appropriate court. No, Chiza Besige, I thought. Oh, the other Chiza. Well, since that was contempt of court, and there is now a decision in terms of the appropriate of that court to try civilians, we may find a way. But still there is a process that has to be undertaken. It is only going to be an automatism that you will walk out of prison anyhow. So there are things that the court actually pointed to. But one thing for sure is that Parliament has been given a warning. When you are enacting laws, look critically at what the Constitution gives you as powers. Because the powers under that Article 209 to 10 were to definitely enact a law for the discipline, structures, and functioning of the Uganda People's Defense Forces. Now, you could not in the same instance enact a law that clearly gives the credence to trial of civilians who are not actually part of the structures and who cannot commit service offenses. I think that is to be more clear, to also be tried in the same court, which ideally is a structure. But of course there is a problem. Sometimes I know that the Honorable Ssemujju and Honorable Katuntu are actually, they lack quorum in Parliament, and because of the recently concluded the elections, of course, most voters actually went to Parliament and members of Parliament didn't win. So there is a problem of quorum of intellectuals in Parliament. So you will have to deal with a lot. I saw it even, and the process is still continuing. I saw Honorable Katuntu struggling to have a debate on the age limit. But I looked at a Parliament that was completely disinterested in a debate, and we don't have a proper answer on that. But at least we know there is a decision on amendment of a constitution without a proper debate. So for me, I think Parliament needs to Parliament needs to style up. When we are required to have laws enacted must be within the precincts of the provisions that give them powers to do so. Of course, courts have also indicated to us that the tenure of office of a judicial officer has a lot to do with that impartiality of that judicial officer. So for us now operating with judges that are all whose tenures are not as confirmed as practicable, it also points to what is likelihood of. I think we have got a section of judges on Katuntu. There is some reference to them. They are not confirmed. They are in acting capacity. Now, so if we continue to have such persons exist, then of course now with this decision, impartiality is itself injured. Finally, benchmarking is really not going to be the case when we are enacting laws, because members of Parliament benchmarked Egypt, they benchmarked Russia, Kuwait, Algeria, and established our court martial almost on all fours, while the others were actually establishing persons for, and institutions for service offences. Now here, and I think this is what, of course, Justice Mujenyi also called the competence. Now, competence in law would not necessarily mean, of course, being ignorant, lacking capacity. It is generally having the legal capability to do something. So somebody who is not a trained lawyer, placing such a person with the possibility of determining between right and wrong over jurisprudential weighing scales, really you are just telling the person that you have got a very great sense of humor. Soldiers can't know what to do in terms of right and wrong. All they know is about order, and of course disobeying of such orders to them is guilt in nature. Some of them are of course looking forward to promotions and clearly giving a decision, while what you are looking forward to is a promotion is itself the lack of justice that the courts helped to actually.
I like the way you present that, but Honorable Ssemujju, Godwin Toko says people are right to be angry and protest and call out the judges. We are talking about an appeal that was filed in 2021 and now it is 2025. That's such a long time. Why did it take that long? And just imagine the injustice suffered by hundreds, the Olivia Rutayas, hundreds of Karamoja youths. Basically obeyed Aaron. He says he could go on.
Listen to because the court explained it. One, yes, because you see, you need a full quorum, and the first quorum constituted, one judge died. Then they constituted a second forum. Then one judge reached retirement age. Then they constituted the third one. Then there was another death and so on. The last quorum, which was fully constituted, was only 8 months ago. So it has been death and retirement.
So
it's not 4 years really, and they explained it really.
The pain that M7 has caused us is making people who are knowledgeable, decent, do foolish things.
This is true.
I'll never forget Chidoma Kubuya, the first to get first class degree, but his interpretation was like of a nursery kid. I said when Kavuma retired from court, I didn't expect court to change drastically. But Owinyudoro was better than Kavuma from day one. But M7 doesn't allow. I remember one time I was doing a story when Arona became the army commander. I interviewed all the former, all of them, Tumwine, Saleh, Muntu. And Muntu said it's not that we lack officers who can be professional, but micromanaging the military is the problem. So Museveni continues running the court partly. I remember in the case of Amama Mbabazi with the Parliament, Mbabazi had problems with Kadaga, so he wanted to sort those problems. Mbabazi had taken Parliament to court, and Museveni said, call me Odoki, as if he was asking one of his assistants, because he was telling Mbabazi to withdraw the case. And Mbabazi said, no, it's pending judgment, I can't withdraw. So he said, call me Odoki. Can't this matter be withdrawn? Odoki said, no, if even 2 hours before the judgment, as long as the one who brought it is the one withdrawing. So that's how he runs court. So the Owinyi was, and that's why Mbidde made a great point. The fact that people are celebrating a judgment and not celebrating you, the judges, means there is a problem. I was asking Abdu, the time of the Ssemujju, the Karokora, Odell is the person I was asking you. Yeah, these were celebrated judges. We are not celebrating their judgments. We were already celebrating them because there was a list. There was a list of judgments they had delivered to the satisfaction of everybody. Okero, but Owinyi Dolo, we are now celebrating one decision, and we hope it will not be a one-off. So you just have to deliver as many judgments, and then we will now begin celebrating you. Today we are just celebrating a decision. I have attended almost all the sessions when Dr. Kizza Besigye is appearing. I used to attend them as a journalist. Now I am attending them as a politician.
I see that one of our favorite listeners, BMK Gift Senior, Martha Karua, told of a judge advocate that he can only advise, and that she should be the one to advise him.
Yeah, that she said. That court martial, they sit where they sit. You don't know whether one is a judge, whether one is a. But one of them walked where, and almost wrestled down Kizza, the lawyer, before other soldiers dragged him, beat him. It's like you are appearing before animals in a zoo that you're only separated by a fence. That's what happened to Kizza. The women who like crying, they started crying when he was being dragged. So they. What do you mean by life crying? I have my sisters. I am married to a woman. I have seen them cry when I am not crying. So they cry. So they. So don't ask me to elaborate. So Abdu is speaking other information. So
continue, please.
So the point is, when you are taken before a court martial, you automatically know you are not appearing before any tribunal. They are not even a tribunal.
You don't expect justice?
No, it cannot be there. But they can't even pretend. So I am very happy with this judgment. I like Owinyi Dolo, by the way. But I am not sure the environment he went to serve in can allow him. That's why people are shocked by this judgment. Said, hey, you mean these guys can deliver this judgment? So he will need to deliver more before he finally retires, for people to know. Because I was speaking to the road mayor yesterday, and he said he laughed and he was cautioned by a court when Owinyi Dolo said for once court has a duty to deliver a sober judgment. He said Owinyi Dolo said that, and he was quoting the preamble of the Constitution. So when a Chief Justice begins to make those kind of statements that for once court has to deliver a sober judgment and is quoting the preamble of the Constitution, it's an admission that actually what we have been doing is not the right work. Maybe today we are doing it. So that's why people are saying, oh, wait a minute, can they do it again? And that's going to be the test to that court. I think the only person who is not happy is Museveni and his son, Muhoozi Kainerugaba, because they are the ones who want to kill Besigye. Now, finally, people need to understand that Museveni can also keep you in prison if he wants, whether you are before civilian court. I was in Masaka when Alan and Seginyo were being released by a judge of High Court. One of the grounds she cited was their own, what do they call it, being members of Parliament. Yes. And another judge in the same court gave the same ground for keeping them in jail after. He said, you are MPs, you can interfere with the, you are very big people. The other one said, you are very big people, I know you will attend court. Please, I am setting you free. And I said, no, you are very big people, you will interfere with the court. Now I am taking you back to prison. I remember in 2005, Besigye gets released by court. Black Mamba under Tinyefuza not only raid his court, but they went to raid the chambers of the principal judge, Justice Ogora, and he had to hide. So they took over. So Museveni has capacity, but the one thing Oscar you need to know about Museveni is that he doesn't want to do things the bad way. He wants to quietly go and take over roles that are not his, and then pretend that he did not. So what people should now expect is that when you are taken to High Court, and High Court gives you bail, either Museveni will remove the bail, or he will come and now grab you and charge you with something else. So so the outcome might be the same.
Who is that person who was refused bail, saying they will wait for me outside there?
No, when they grab the
Was it Mawanda?
Honorable Akamba, the MPs who were arrested for corruption, they grabbed the Akamba. Mwesigwa Rukutana, who was a lawyer for the rest, he said, the way I see the weather outside, I will not apply for bail, because he knew that even if court had granted it. So things haven't changed yet. The judgment, we celebrate it, we welcome it. Now we will monitor both the subsequent judgment, but also the conduct of Museveni and his son.
Martin.
Probably I also want to, fortunately I have interacted with the Chief Justice Owindolo. I had a matter before him, I think around 2008-9. Unfortunately I lost the matter, but what was the matter? It was a land matter. By then he was a resident judge in Fort Portal, but from I have known him as a brilliant, hardworking gentleman, and when I see people belittle his way around things, and now it's really saddening. And I think he made this statement in court on the conduct of the lawyers and the people that benefit from the court, and on how they take these judges, the level of disrespect, and turning the court into a political theater. And I think something should be done about this, because when the politicians are in, I don't want to say names, but when a politician is in court representing a client, it now becomes more of politics, and he tends to look at how he gains out of it than the actual client or that they are representing. But of course this is not new. As the NRM government, we've lost a couple of cases in court against the opposition. It's unfortunate when I heard Nafi saying that for once now we are a bit happy, but I will cautiously be optimistic going forward.
Yes.
By the judgment. But this is very unfair, really. Because so for you only when you carry the day is when you're happy. When you don't carry, then it becomes a problem.
So when the Chief just says for once we'll give a sober judgment.
I did hear him saying that. On record he didn't say that. I don't know.
He said it on microphone.
Probably I missed that. But I think this is a bit unfortunate, and more confidence to the people out there that the judiciary still works. Well, for me, I'll focus on the recommendations given by the Chief Justice, and it's for instance that he should be given power to appoint the judges in the military courts. So all these recommendations really do away with the military court. It's just going to be a shell, but it ceases to be a military court, because if even the subordinate courts, you're going to hire civilian. It should
be like the police tribunal.
Yes,
they work on their cases.
Now I find this a bit unfortunate, but it's a debate we can have going forward. Yes, this is this is my opinion, because I think the essence of forming the military court was because the military people in service a bit unique from we the civil Ugandans. They carry guns, they have a decision to do with life and death when they're on a battlefield and a wrong decision is taken, it's okay. It's just my opinion, Ssemujju.
I'll give you a minute to respond on Ssemujju.
If someone makes a wrong decision on the battlefield and could maybe endanger the lives of 100, 200 people and probably an overrun of a whole government, so
and you don't think it's catered for in our laws and
in the civilian courts it's a bit different, and if you look at the president's letter, and if we went for a referendum, yes, Ssemujju don't if we went for a referendum, because if you see how the courts, our civil courts handle matters, I have been in court before. I have seen how people are treated. People come for justice year in, year out, and they never get it, and the military court has been able to deal with this effectively and in a timely manner. And for instance, a crook really carrying a gun, you've killed 10-15 people, you come to the civil court and it's business as usual. So I think we should go back and look at this legislation and see how we still provide, yes, for the tough criminals that need to be.
Martin,
yes.
Are you aware that there were people who were arrested during the last campaigns, NUP supporters, and it's now 4 years and none of them have been tried?
Not even once.
None for 4 years, and that's the court you are telling us everything has been all rosy. Excuse me.
I am speaking to the military mainly.
Everybody appearing before, it doesn't matter who. But once you appear before general court martial, you are saying this has been an efficient court. And I'm giving you an example. These guys who were released the other day, convicted when they purportedly confessed, had been in that court for over 4 years without trial, without even a single evidence given.
Yes,
and really you need to say sorry on that point, because the facts don't bear you out.
Allowed me to conclude. That's the
Please go ahead.
Yes. Of course, in those circumstances, I agree. For instance, a civilian who is unarmed, who has not done the atrocities we are talking about, carrying guns and killing people, that one, of course, is a bit unfortunate. What I'm trying to say is that we should now not lose that kind of trial that is more of a summary trial. Yes, I'm saying in this specific circumstances.
You're kind of speaking NRM speak.
No, but for me, in conclusion, let me say this, and I still want to
please conclude.
I still want to conclude. Let me conclude.
See, we are getting
and I still want to speak to the president's letter in reference to Karamoja and the young men involved in cattle rustling and killing people as they involved in the illegal activity. That if it was a civilian court, I mean, someone has been killed, we know that's the process of justice. That sometimes people need to be, and if you look at the foundation of the NRM and why they were appreciated in communities, it's because they were able to deal with criminals there and then, and the community would see this being done.
They're the ones in power.
And I think we should not lose this component. We have a lot of inefficiency unless the Chief Justice assures us
Martin,
of efficiency in the courts of law.
I said you have NRM speak for you. I think you made it a bit worse, but because Lydia did well. You know what she did? She said the ruling is so good, but now you judges, you must very quickly give whatever. And her focus was on the timing. But for you, backlog.
Yes. For me,
you now, you have even.
For me, I am looking at the circumstances as they are. Okay. I'm not dreaming about the future. What is happening in the civilian courts is an absurdity. For people, especially the military, let's say, and yes, what I'm trying to say is we should not lose.
You wanted to respond to you. We go to military.
I was irritated.
The court martial.
I was just
but somebody irritated me very many times, and I'm not saying it on the microphone.
Waiting for him to conclude. You see, Oscar.
Sometimes you tell him.
Just imagine, Oscar. Kasirye Gwanga was my friend, very good friend. But imagine you are appearing before Judge Kasirye Gwanga. So Ssemujju in Teso there. They accused some soldiers of killing a Muzungu. He tried them in 20 minutes, put them on firing squad, because Sura Ssemujju was of Kasirye Gwanga's caliber. That's what the judges were talking about. Quickly. Anyone can find himself in the military.
Oscar.
And that's how you ended up with Dwago Nyanzi, Sura Ssemujju, Kazini, everybody. Just imagine appearing before one of those. This guy who is the judge there, trying Besigye. You can see he's sober. Even under provocation, he keeps a calmness. Free man. And I give him credit. Misbehaved, but generally, as a person heading the court, you can see he's being run by another one calling himself judge somebody. But he's sober. But appearing before Kasirye Gwanga, Judge Kasirye Gwanga, and the minister, a younger man like you are saying it is okay.
You see, Oscar, you see,
I thought I was the one responding. He has ended. No, he has ended.
He wants to.
No, he's saying nothing.
In a minute.
You see, you see Ssemujju.
Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who said, Besigye, we are going to kill you if we have even identified the tree. And then you appear before Muhoozi Kainerugaba as a judge.
You see,
wait one day, it will happen to you.
You see, Ssemujju is from a town here, Kira municipality. He's but I want to tell you.
Yeah, you left your village and also came here.
Ssemujju, I want to tell you, if we subjected the decision to ban the military courts in the entirety, I'm not talking about them trying civilians. I'm talking about, for instance, soldiers that go get involved in land grabbing and then come and appear in civilian courts. Listen.
His microphone is not on.
And get bail. Trust me. The court martial might carry the day against the civilian courts. If you go down there, you do not know the bail.
Has the court martial ever handled the land matter?
No.
By soldiers that have grabbed lands?
Yes.
Have they?
They do.
But Honorable Mbidde, your second.
Maybe what the Honorable Minister has probably he needs to also look at the decision properly, because at the end of the decision, court gave what they termed advisory orders. These are not orders per se, but they are actually slightly above just pieces of advice.
They are suggesting reforms.
Yeah, suggesting reforms, and they never did away with the court martial per se, but it was actually advised that there should be established that kind of court martial as another division of the court, the High Court, if they want, with also clear directions on competencies, qualifications, and actually the judge said, I mean, when you look at him, he's fairly educated. But how would you now deliver him in one of the departments of gynecology in Mulago to start now operating on any of the clients? Yes, but for me, that is what I thought.
No, now, that's what you're interested in.
Thank you.
So he said.
God said.
Oscar, for me, just
hold on. Martin, I'm going to show you some social media. People are going to murder you on social media. But Honorable Mbidde.
Yes.
And he wants a referendum. Let us see what the referendum is saying. You don't know about you.
Mbidde. Yes, you and Namfi here and Abdu, you like things American.
Yeah.
Now you have Trump. So what is going to happen with these freezes on international aid? And they've kind of unfrozen a bit on HIV, but there's panic in all areas.
Yes. I think in this regard, I would expect the population to cry, but not governments. I don't know. Why would governments think that a government of other taxpayers ought to have had a duty of care on their own people? There was a question somebody raised. There is one of the neighboring countries with a lot of resources that used to claim another country is stealing its resources. But the other country said, no, but we equally crisscross the corridors of IMF together. If you have all those resources and that they can develop another country, why are you not developing yours? So Trump gave his executive orders. Not all are actually bad in relation to African countries. For example, the executive order on national energy services, that they are going to definitely unleash them. Also, they are going to now jostle for the market for the supply of fossil oils. For me, I think that is now going to make sure price volatility on oil products is going to be established at world market. We are going to begin experiencing lower prices in terms of fuel, and that will lower our cost of production for our own production here. The problem, ideally in economics it should. The problem is that our governance systems here do not offer such environments to exist.
Honorable Ssemujju.
So the idea of course of the suspension on HIV, withdrawal from World Health Organization, I think prioritization is the key for governments of Africa.
Thank you. Honorable Ssemujju.
We
Trump.
we passed what I call the first draft budget draft in Parliament this week, and as a shadow minister I made proposals. The proposals were as a result of continuing to fund the same things. Oscar, we have seen here 4 children. Their curriculum, the National Development Curriculum Center said they needed 7 billion to do some temporary working, printing, training teachers before they develop what we'd call maybe a permanent curriculum. They are crying for 7 billion. They didn't give them. In the draft budget, they wanted 12 billion, it's not given. But we put together a total of 3.4 trillion, money that is going to fund workshop, entertainment, donation, beddings and clothing, fuel, etc. And I asked those guys in finance, including NRM, this one who supports a court martial. But you must make a choice. You must make a choice of popularizing and popularizing an 80-year-old man, because you have given him 80 billion to donate so people can like him.
So in short,
and developing them a curriculum.
In short, you are with Trump.
We have money to do these basic things. We may not have money to grow our country the way we want, but to deal with the basic things we have, the only problem is that it goes to fund those stupid things.
Of supporting Trump.
Yes.
Usually with the intention to shame me.
Is it possible?
To shame me?
Is it possible?
Oscar,
You mean she's shameless?
there is something about Trump. It's not about supporting him, and because people don't draw this line, it's so I don't go full on to tell them I support Trump. But you see, there is something about a madman who comes and radically does things that need to be done. I don't know whether any of you has read about
So you
by
also one of them
Mbidde.
banging the tables.
I am with that madman of banging the tables and Afoyo.
Earlier than the president of Law Society.
Yes.
Was already banging the tables.
Because at some point we have, this foolishness has to stop somewhere. Have you read the book by Dambisa Moyo about debt?
Which one?
About AIDS.
Aid.
Aid, yeah.
It explains the irony, and the aid is actually a problem, not a solution to the third world. We've been aided for the last 60 years. Where are we? Do we look any different? I remember Ratan Tata speaking about the communities in India which the Tata group aided and those where Tata group took business. And he said the communities where they took business, opened factories and employed people, were thriving, and the communities they had donated to year in, year out, the slums of India and Bombay they had donated to, were still languishing in poverty 20 years after they started helping them. Let us not fool ourselves that this aid helps. Why would you, for example, give the speakers of parliament cars worth 2 billion and you don't have a budget for HIV? Why would you outsource something like your health and yet you give what is that man testing coffee, 38 billion to Muhozi's brother-in-law? Why would you do that? So at the end of the day, when we kid ourselves at this, and because Trump radically looked at aid, you've read the diary of an economic hitman, and they are very clear what aid does. They're not. You don't think American population is seated there wishing you Africans very well. No. They are seated there. They want to hook you onto this aid. They want to hook a certain part of society onto this aid so that they control you. It is about control. And then every time you remember when we were having the homosexuality debate and we were saying we are hitting back at the West to stop this and this, but then you're going to go Kabinand and beg them. And yet the resources that you have, the mega resources, you're wasting them on bribing NRM officials, on paying what, on the family expenditure. No. At the end of the day, let's figure it out. And I agree with what Uhuru Kenyatta said. Oscar, why do you want me
because
to?
we don't have time.
Oh,
Abdul.
Uhuru Kenyatta made a very valid point last week, saying American taxpayers are not your brothers or sisters. Look after yourselves, stop
Abdul,
complaining,
your
and
opinion
go find
on
a
the
plan
international
B.
freeze?
Well, 90 days, and after 90 days there will be a review. But I think the begging world is now shouting, and to use Martin and Ibra's words, I think it is irritating. I mean, we can't be there shouting why somebody is not going to give us aid, really. It's irritating, really. Please. I think let's cut our clothes according to our size. We need to look at what we can afford. And this week has been a very sad week for me. I have sat in that house and I've listened to my colleagues in Parliament, and I felt so bad. Everybody is looking at the expenditure side of the budget. Everybody. We need money for this, we need money for this. I was saying we need money here, compensation here. Everybody. 99% of the MPs. I think it is only the Shadow Minister for Finance, Ssemujju, who's talked about really the revenue. What sort of money are we having? Everybody was really talking about expenditure. Oh, we need hospitals here, we need this, we need this here. I said, where are you going to get this money? We are now talking about compensation. Oh, our people need compensation here, compensation here, compensation here. Nobody is looking at where is this money coming from. We have a budget where we can raise local revenues around 33 trillion. Do you know? And we are looking at a budget where expenditure is around 57. Forget about the other. 57. And all this is about borrowing. It is about begging.
In short, you agree with Trump?
You know, for every dark cloud, those who speak
Silver
good
lining.
English, like Honorable Mbidde, there is a silver lining.
Just a sajabi.